right. Welcome to Scara Scream Theater, Episode 1. My name is Scara, Damsel of the Doomed. I'm a horror host here in Austin, Texas, and I'm just now figuring all of this out. So bear with me. But I did want to start off by just kind of testing things out. And I've got my little phone set up over here until I figure out how to stream to multiple platforms. I'm simultaneously streaming to Instagram Live right now. So hello, Instagram Live. This will be streaming to my YouTube channel right now, which is Scara Damsel of the Doomed over on YouTube. And we will be putting the audio up as a podcast. Now, I have been a horror host here in Austin, Texas since 2019, hosting various horror events for various friends and different people in the area. I started with Horror Web, which is now it's a film production company. But when we started, it was various things. We had YouTube channels. At one point, I think we were selling merch on a website. And the way I became involved is I started to interview people in the horror community. My first interview, I'm trying to remember who the first person I interviewed for Horror Web was. I'm going to have to really go back and see that. But I can tell you various people I did interview. I interviewed Dale Carroll, who is an artist in the horror community. He's done a lot of horror fan art. And I interviewed Joey Slane of the Glass Coffin, a famous vampire that used to reside here in Austin, Texas. I interviewed Kayla Stojek of Zombie Peep Show. She makes shoes and hats and jackets, all sorts of horror couture items. And she's also part of Horror Web. I interviewed Mitch Rafter of Gore Noir Magazine. So on and so forth. Lots of different people. Now, those interviews were fun, but then we decided I should have a show, and I had a show called Tub of Terror. Ooh, it was from my bathtub. We filmed me in my bathtub. Now listen, this was not an OnlyFans situation, okay? I was covered up to my neck basically in bubbles, and but the whole kind of a tagline of it all was, these bubbles won't last forever, so I better hurry up and get to the movie review, And I did a bunch of those episodes where I would talk about movies. I've always had a hard time reviewing movies. That is to say, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down and why I liked it or why I didn't, just because I don't like stepping on somebody's art like that, Unless you've made a movie, you don't really know what you're talking about. You can subjectively say if you liked a movie, but for just a layman to be like, oh, that movie was crap. We could do that privately with our friends, right? We can talk shit with our friends, but I always felt weird about doing it publicly. So that show, we had some fun with it and I enjoyed it. And then it came to a natural end. I want to say that was probably around 2020. And then started a horror pop punk band called The Immortals. Still am doing that. That's really fun. And 2 years ago, I started Scara Scream Theater, which is a in-person show at a drive-in theater. And once a month, I get to show horror movies and I get to talk about them. So I get on this giant zombie head prop and in front of the audience at the drive-in, I get to tell them all about the horror movie. I get to tell them the history of that horror movie, who made it, how it was made, different interesting trivia facts. I researched these movies that I show. I researched them within an inch of their lives. You know what I mean? I want to know everything about that movie and the people involved. And then I want to tell the audience about it. So I've been doing this for 2 years. Next month, September, it'll be 2 years of Scream Theater. And in my research, I have listened to other podcasts, other horror podcasts, looking for the information that I want to share with you. Well, I found that most horror podcasts are review podcasts, which is fine. Do what you want to do, Becky. But I wasn't getting the information I wanted by listening to a review because I want to know the nitty gritty. I want to know the nuts and bolts. You know what I mean? So that's when something clicked. Mama needs her own podcast. I want to give you the information that I find, information that would have been helpful to me 2 years ago. But, that's neither here nor there. Sorry, my dress is on my microphone. So I decided, hey, let's make a podcast and call it Scare Scream Theater, just like my drive-in show. And part of the podcast will be me delivering to you my sermons. I call my my little talks my sermons, like how they do from the pulpit in the church, except it's horror church, I suppose. It is on a Sunday, Scream Theater, so that kind of works out. But so what I want to do, and I'm not going to do it today, but what I want to do at least once a month, I want to deliver to you these sermons. And I've done, I guess it'll be 24 movies next month. So there's 24 episodes right there, Bob. 24. The very first movie I showed at Scream Theater was Pieces. Have you seen that? I love that movie. So on the next episode of Scare Scream Theater, the podcast, or the YouTube, if you will, I will be giving you all of the information that I found out when researching the movie Pieces. And it's a doozy, okay? Not only is that movie a doozy, but the way they made that movie is a doozy. A doozy. So I think you'll find it interesting. That's not all I want to do with this podcast, though. I also want to maybe set up like a phone number where you guys can call me and leave a voicemail, ask me a question, and then I play the voicemail and answer the question. A little Q&A. How about that? I'm adjusting the microphone. And then I thought, well, what if it is a live call-in? I wonder if there's a way I can set up a live call-in situation. But I don't know if that could be risky because I don't know you. I do know you. I know a lot of you probably that are listening to this. But I do think setting up a voicemail situation would be cool. I really think if I do this podcast bi-weekly, and one of the weeks it's the traditional Scream Theater where I'm talking to you about a movie, and then the other one is voicemails, answering questions, and then just talking, then, we got something there. We got something to go on. As the show evolves, will I have guests? Possibly. Okay. Possibly. But I don't want to do the Zoom guest thing. No shade to anyone. I just don't want to do it. I just don't. If you're going to be a guest, I want you to be here in this Halloween bedroom with me. And, maybe on the rare occasion I would do a Zoom, but I don't know. It just feels weird. I like the energy of having someone right here to interview. So, what do you guys think? I'm going to ask the chat now. Chat on Instagram, I'm looking at you. Tell me what you think about this podcast idea and give me any suggestions you might have. Now, let me take a few steps back and go back into my history again. So, I let you know about doing interviews of people in the horror community and then doing Tub of Terror on YouTube. And what I didn't mention was my work with various horror conventions and festivals. So I've done stuff for Mitch at Gore Noir Magazine. I've done his Nosferatu Festival, hosted that. I have hosted interview panels, moderated interview panels at Cult Classic Convention. I've got lots of stories to tell about that if you want to hear them. Lots of stories. Hey, let's play a game. Which Texas Chainsaw Massacre actors have tried to get me to go back to their hotel bedroom? True story. Recently, this is cool. I got to moderate interview panels at Houston Horror Film Festival, which is a great, fun convention. And let me think. I hosted Zombie Peep Show's one and only live fashion show, Rabbit in Red. That was phenomenal. And I know there's other things I'm forgetting about. Oh, here's a big one. We've also, as part of Horror Web, the film production company I'm associated with, we started making like horror shorts about moi. And it started with one called Witch's Bargain, which is about my character. I didn't write it, but I acted in it. And then after that, we did one called The Black Quarry. I introduced that movie horror host style, like Creep Show or Tales from the Crypt, how they did back then. And that was cool. And that's a featurette, I would say. And then I wrote and starred in Damsel of the Doomed, which is about my character, and it's in film festivals right now. And it's doing really well. Recently, we won Best Texas Film at Houston Horror Film Festival. And I won Best Actress. I don't know who bought that vote, but I'm just kidding. I was super happy about that. And anyway, it's still in film festivals. We're looking for distribution, and we're hoping to have it streaming. Wouldn't it be nice if it was on, I don't know, Shudder or Screambox or something like that? That would be rad. But as it is, we're still looking for distribution. We've, fielding offers and trying to find the right spot and the right fit for us. And next year, the plan is to go to these conventions and table at the conventions and sell the DVDs of the movies. But the movie was great. I could do a whole podcast on the making of Damsel of the Doomed and what that was like. Stressful is the answer. But also I have a lot of very good memories, and a lot of amazing people helped make that. It's a group of friends, really, that got together and did these projects. A group of friends. I still can't believe it happened. It's wild. Very creative, very cool people got together to make Damsel of the Doomed. But yeah, that's another episode that I could go into details on that. I wonder if does this have a countdown? This is all new to me. If you're listening to this and not watching the audio, it's all very new. So I don't, it's, there's the counter. We've been going for about 14 minutes. I'm going to look at the chat now. So someone says that they can't wait for the DVD. That's awesome. And then William says, getting hit on at conventions is part of life. At least the person was honest and didn't pretend to be a friend or want to talk business. Yeah, getting hit on at conventions, it happens. Especially since I think when I'm interviewing someone, especially if it's an intimate setting, if I'm right next to them, when I interview someone, I am very much connecting with them. And I look like a dang cartoon character. I'm very hyper feminine in this get up. So sometimes I think maybe I'm giving off signals that I'm down for that, I guess. But here's the deal, William. I think people need to practice the art of subtlety. Because this one time at a horror convention, I was moderating a panel. One of the guests after the interview, he said to me, he looked right at me and he goes, "So are you coming back with me to my hotel room or what?" And the answer was no. Okay. This man, I don't know where he got the balls to ask me that, because it would have been a wild mismatch. I don't know how to say it nicely, but he was a good 25 years my senior, and physique was if you would have told me he was a long haul truck driver, I would have believed you. You know what I mean? Not to body shame anybody. not to body shame any truck drivers. I know some very handsome truck drivers. Thank you very much. Yes, the Dark Buzzard says they should know better. Well, and I'm not going to say it's not flattering to get hit on, but it happens at the conventions by some of the actors, not all of them, of course. I have good, really good stories about interviewing people for the conventions. I've met a lot of really cool people. There's times where I'll kind of have to pinch myself because I'm like, am I really talking to so-and-so from such and such movie? I've been lucky in that arena. Hang on, let me get a sip. A sip of my Crystal Light. That's what I call Crystal Light. I say Crystal Light. So, I hope you guys think the plan for the podcast is a solid one. Really what it's going to be is, in this next coming year, we're going to figure it out. Am I going to stay in my Halloween bedroom? I don't know. I don't know if I like this angle. When I'm looking at the one on Instagram on my other camera, I think I like that angle better. I'm going to post the Instagram one on Instagram, but I'm going to also encourage people to go watch it on YouTube. I don't know what I'm going to do. Right now, this is just stream of conscious, my friend. I could do a whole podcast on how I came up with Scara. People are always asking about that. How long does it take you to do your blood tears? How did you come up with that? Are you inspired by Elvira? Of course I am. Of course I am, Margaret. I could tell you about the first horror movie I ever saw. People ask me that a lot. I could just do a whole podcast on all of the questions I get asked in almost every interview I do. I could just give that to you in one go. I could talk to you about being in the Immortals and the shows and stories from that. I've got lots of stories, morning glories. I'm trying to make it to 20 minutes here. Okay. And then I could talk also about like what's coming up. I mean, if this is going to be done with some regularity, I could talk about horror movies that are going to come out, what I'm excited to see, what I have seen, what I dug. For example, what did I just see? Weapons. Loved it. I loved me some Weapons. But I like that filmmaker too. I loved, they also did Barbarian, which I thought was phenomenal. The Substance was one of my favorite horror movies that's come out, I would say, in the last 5 years. And then I don't know if you've seen Bring Her Back by the same filmmakers that did Talk to Me, but that's another one that I really enjoyed. Of course, Sinners was great. Sinners was very, very entertaining. The thing, sometimes I think horror movies and movies in general can be a little too glossy. And Sinners, for me, the look of it was a little too glossy. Not that I'm not complaining. I did enjoy that movie a lot. There's a lot to be said about that movie. It was very fun, but it was very glossy. Just a personal opinion. Oh, somebody says that I'll do good. Oh, thank you. I hope so. I hope I do good on this podcast. As you can see, I could just, I could talk your ears off if I needed to, but I'm going to mercifully let you go because we're coming up on 20 minutes. And really, this is just a test episode. And it's really to get me out and get it going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this son of a bitch on the podcasting platforms. I'm going to tell people, hey, go listen to this. And then the very next episode I do will be a Scream Theater episode, meaning the very next episode I do, I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to start with the first movie I screened at Scara Scream Theater, the live event, which was Pieces, like I mentioned at the beginning of this pod. And I'm going to get out my book that has what I wrote down and what I said to the crowd that day. And I'm going to deliver you the sermon of Pieces. And we'll talk about Pieces the next time I see you, okay? And then the podcast after that, we'll do a voicemail situation. So have some questions or some comments or some whatevers ready to go. I'll have that information as far as the phone number and all that on my Instagram. Okay. I'm getting my website together. So you'll have access to that. The website will have all sorts of information on there for you. And I think that's it. I think that's all we need to know. So, somebody said something on Instagram. Band stories are cool. Da, 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 da. Okay, I'll read that in a minute, William. All right. I keep forgetting this is a podcast. So, thank you so much for lending me your ear for this 21 minutes and 35 seconds. My name is Scara, Damsel of the Doomed, and I'll see you next time, all right? I don't have a cool thing to sign off with. Not yet, anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to say goodbye. I'll see you soon. I don't know when, but pretty soon. And then regularly after that. Thank you.